In this video, I'm going to be talking about premium setup cubes and discussing whether you should buy them, as well as which ones you should buy. So let's begin by talking about what premium setup cubes are. Premium setups are services that the Cubicle and Speedcube shop offer, in which they take a cube and then lube and tension it for you, generally adding about 10 to 15 US dollars to the price. Examples of these services include Cubicle Pro Shop, Angstrom, and Speedcube Shop Cosmic. The idea is that they are the best cubes you can get, as they have been set up by a professional. So to know whether you should get them, we have to look at whether they actually improve the cube enough to be worth that increased price, and whether they improve the cube more than you could do on your own. It's useful to start by separating premium setups into two sections. The first is made up of Cubicle Pro Shop and Speedcube Shop Supernova. These setups are the cheaper option of their respective stores, and in my opinion, are generally not worth getting. These services don't do much to the cube and seem to not use enough lube. It's a much better option to buy some lubes and learn to set up a cube yourself, as Cubicle Pro Shop and Speedcube Shop Supernova are not going to make the cube better than you could. The second type of premium setup is made up of Speedcube Shop Cosmic and all of the more expensive Cubicle lines, like Angstrom, Celeritas, and Mystic. Basically, these setups are the actual premium setup cubes, and are what I mainly want to talk about, as I think they are sometimes worth getting. So, how much do these setups improve the cube? Well, the answer to that is a lot. Premium setups can make any cube really good. The lubes and tensioning will have been chosen specifically for that cube, so I can't say that a premium setup always makes a cube faster or smoother or whatever, but what I can say is that the change will be whatever is needed to make the cube perform better. If the cube is too slow, it will make it faster, and vice versa, for every aspect of the cube. Not only does a premium setup make a cube perform better, the lube means the cube lasts longer, so you won't be needing to replace the cube as soon as you would otherwise. But what if you want to buy the lubes and set up the cubes yourself? Well, let's just say you're going to have to get really good at setting up cubes. For example, I have a lot of lubes and a lot of experience setting up cubes, but I still cannot set up cubes better than a person whose job it is to do that. Also, think about how many of the top cubers use cubes that have had a premium setup done on them. They don't do this because they can't set up the cubes themselves. They do it because these cubes really are the best performing cubes in the world. So, should you get a premium setup on your cube? Well, it depends on how much you care about the event. For example, I didn't get my 5x5 with a premium setup, because 5x5 is not one of my main events, so the extra cost wouldn't be worth it. But with Pyraminx, which is my main event, I did get a premium setup. Think about which events you practice and care about the most. For those ones, I think it is worth it to get a premium setup, as it will improve the cube a lot. But I wouldn't recommend getting a premium setup for all the new cubes you buy, as they are quite expensive. Another thing I want to say here is that, especially for 3x3, if you're looking at a high-end cube, it's definitely worth at least considering getting a mid-range cube with a premium setup instead, as this will probably be as good, if not better, as well as cheaper, as well as lasting longer because of the lube. But anyway, let's say you've decided that you want a premium setup on a cube you're going to buy. Which one should you get? Well, really, this is not as important a choice as it may seem at first. If you're buying off the Cubicle or Speedcube shop, as long as you don't get Supernova or Pro Shop, any setup will be pretty good. To decide which setup you should get, I recommend just looking at the description of the setup, and maybe some reviews to decide. Think about the way you most like a cube's turning to feel, and get the setup which seems closest to that. Personally, I really like Angstrom, but any setup will be good, and you can't really go too wrong when deciding which setup to get. The main decision is deciding whether to get a premium setup, not which premium setup you should get.